All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about the absolutely booming, and let's be honest, kind of surreal world of AI companions. This is a place where relationships are literally coded, and intimacy is just a download away. And as you're about to see, where you are in the world completely changes what that intimacy looks like.
Because, and this is the really wild part, at the heart of this whole thing is a fascinating split. It turns out when it comes to artificial romance, different societies are building totally different kinds of partners. And the big question is, why? That's what we're here to figure out.
And just so we're clear, this is not some niche corner of the internet, not even close. Since 2022, AI companion apps have been downloaded over 220 million times. To put that into perspective, that is more than the entire population of Brazil. So yeah, this isn't just a fad. It's a massive, global shift in how people are looking for connection.
Okay, so let's kick off our investigation in the West, where one type of AI companion is just, well, completely dominating the market.
I mean, just look at this breakdown. It's pretty staggering. Over half, 52%, of all global AI companion companies are headquartered right in the United States. Meanwhile, China, for all its tech power, only makes up about 10% of the market. So American companies are really setting the tone here, and they're exporting a very, very specific kind of product.
So what is that product? Well, this chart right here tells a huge part of the story. A report from this year found that 17% of all active AI companion apps have girlfriend in the name. Compare that to just 4% with boyfriend. The data couldn't be clearer. The global market, led by the US, is overwhelmingly built to cater to heterosexual male fantasies.
So, how are people actually using these things? Well, it kind of splits into two main camps. On one side, you've got these community platforms, like Fan AI. Here, it's all about making and sharing tons of different companions. The relationships are a little more fleeting, a bit more casual. But then you have the other side, with product-focused platforms like Replica. They offer a single AI partner that learns and evolves with you. And here, users are forming seriously deep, long-term emotional bonds. Some people even say they're married to their AI.
Okay, so the big question, how do they make money? It all comes down to the freemium model. You know the drill. Basic chats are free, but if you want to unlock the real features, stuff like unrestricted conversations, a better AI memory, and let's be real, the explicit or not safe for work content, you've got to pay up. Sexuality isn't just some side feature here. For many of these apps, it's the entire business model.
All right, now for our next case file, we're going to jump over the Great Firewall. And what we find there is a totally different ecosystem where the AI companion world looks, well, you'll see, it's pretty different. In China, it's like the script is completely flipped. As you can see, male characters are the stars of the show. Most of the hot, trending products are sold as AI boyfriends, and they're designed almost exclusively for a female audience.
And the apps in China have this really unique way to keep you hooked, which they borrowed from gaming culture. It's called gacha. So you don't just chat with your AI. You can actually design characters and then generate these digital trading cards of them. And when you unveil the cards, there's this element of chance. Some are common, some are super rare. It taps into the exact same feeling as collecting Pokemon cards or playing a slot machine, making it incredibly addictive and really social.
And is it working? Oh, you bet it is. Just listen to this one user on the social media platform RedNote who wrote, "I spent 4 hours on Xingye solely to make cards." See? This isn't just about conversation anymore. It's about creation, collection, and even competition. So we've got two completely different products, right? Which leads us to the next obvious question. Who are the people using them, and what are they really looking for? Well, the user demographics are just as polarized as the products themselves. In the global market, which, remember, is dominated by the US, the user base is overwhelmingly young men, mostly 18 to 24 years old. The male-to-female ratio is something like 8 to 2. But in China, analysts say the main users are adult women, typically between 25 and 40. So why are so many young men in the West turning to AI? Well, if you look at what some users are saying, it points to a lot of frustration with modern dating. Take this comment from a user on the men's rights subreddit. He says AI girlfriends are a logical conclusion because men are tired of being disposable. This idea of a judgment-free, compliant partner, it really aligns with themes you see in online manosphere communities. And this desire for a controllable partner often shows up in the look and feel of the apps, which lean heavily on anime-style avatars. This taps into something called techno-orientalism, which is basically a long-standing Western fantasy that imagines East Asian women as exotic, devoted, and submissive.
You combine that aesthetic with AI, and for some users, it creates the perfect, unchallenging partner.
But over in China, the motivations are telling a totally different story. You have this growing number of educated urban women who are pushing back against falling marriage rates and really traditional patriarchal expectations. For them, AI boyfriends aren't about replacing men. They're a kind of parasocial romance, a way to get that emotional connection without all the real-world pressures of marriage and family that society puts on them.
But you know, none of this stuff happens in a vacuum. These products are being shaped by some really powerful forces. Government rules on one hand, and international politics on the other.
And this brings us to a huge difference. Chinese apps aren't hypersexualized like the ones in the West, and that's because they literally can't be. The Chinese government has incredibly strict rules against anything that even looks like pornography. Apps have to comply with public order and good morals, which completely shuts down that NSFW-driven business model we see in the US.
And then there's geopolitics. Get this, the strange saga of an app called Talkie. It's a Chinese-made app that became a monster hit in the US. Then, poof, it just vanished from the App Store without a warning. It did eventually come back, but the whole episode just goes to show you how deep the national security concerns are in the West about apps from China, especially when they're collecting such intimate data about users.
So, after looking at the products, the users, and the politics, what's the final verdict here? Well, it might be that this whole phenomenon isn't really about the technology at all.
We spend so much time debating the tech, right? Is it safe? Is it manipulative? What about my privacy? But in all of those arguments, we almost always forget to ask the most important question of all. Why do millions of people even want this in the first place? Where is all this demand coming from?
And the answer, it seems, is that these AI companions are really just holding up a mirror to some deep-seated issues in our own societies. It doesn't matter if it's men in the US or women in China, users are turning to AI because of social isolation, because of polarized gender dynamics, and because of a real frustration with human interaction. These apps are simply filling a void that was already there, one created by old, stubborn problems like misogyny, social pressure, and stereotypes.
And that leaves us with one last really tough question. Maybe instead of focusing so much on the AI, we should be asking ourselves, what are the gaps in our own society that make real human relationships feel so difficult or even undesirable for so many people?